Hey, what's up guys? Doing another little video to show you how to properly tune your buffer system in the Marui MWS. This would be used basically if you install a different buffer other than stock, or if you mess with the buffer tube at all. Some people like to bring it out a turn if they're having issues with bolt lock, which I can also show you real quick. But essentially, anytime you mess with the buffer system, whether it's the tube or you swap buffers or something, you always want to check this. What I'll show you. If you don't, you can get damage to your lower receiver like that, which I should know better, but I forgot because I'm constantly changing parts and stuff. Another little trick too is if you do have some damage and then you do this fix, and you want to just kind of verify it's working, you can use a black Sharpie, and I'll just kind of cover over, the exposed part, exposed steel or whatever, and then go run it. And if you see that gets worn off and there's, fresh damage, you still need to tune it a bit more. But if not, then you know that it should be fine. But if you verify, like I'll show you in a sec, then it shouldn't be an issue. Yeah, so one reason, mainly is if you're swapping to a aftermarket like aluminum or steel buffer. But also people might turn out their buffer tube if they're not getting consistent bolt lock. If this, when it comes stock, sometimes the bolt doesn't ride back quite far enough for the bolt catch or the Z plate here to actually catch the bolt. So some people like to turn their tube out, so that gives this more room to drop in, and then it allows it to catch, which is fine. But then you want to check this so you don't get any damage. So what causes the damage is essentially just over traveling of the bolt. So you can imagine if this tube gets turned out more, well, there's more space back there for this to ride. And if it goes too far, it's usually this screw here that it'll make contact first with your lower receiver there. So what you do to check it is basically you want to put spacers behind your buffer spring here. So this is an aftermarket kit, so it's a little, I got it set up a little different, so it's a little hard to get the spring out than normal. Okay, so if you pull that out, you'll notice I have some spacers in there. I've got a couple more in there, but essentially these are just nylon spacers. I have the size somewhere. I'll post it in the comments if I can find a bag that has a size on it. But essentially they're a little smaller than a quarter, which I also don't have with me, but basically just see what'll fit into the tube. Like a quarter actually fits perfectly in there. So if you find a washer that's about the size of a quarter, that'll work. These are nylon, so they won't bend. You can use quarters in a pinch. I've done that, but eventually they deform and bend, and they don't hold their shape. So I'd recommend just going to a hardware store and picking up some of these because they won't break. So what you want to do is you just, if you're having overtravel, you just start adding some spacers in there, and then that kind of takes up some space here and gives the bolt not as much room to go back. And then how you can test that, so bear with me a second here. This is harder with this camera in the way. There we go. Okay, so that's back in there. So how you can test it is kind of do a mock run of your bolt. Oh, another thing I want to mention is, damn, this is running long already. If you're using a spring-loaded buffer like this, you want to be extra careful when you're checking this, because like the stock buffer is actually spring-loaded too. So and this is Angry Gun, a heavy recoil buffer, and it's got a real stiff spring in it. So when you're checking this, you want to make sure this is fully depressed. That's as far back as it could possibly go. If you just kind of go to the first resistance, it might seem like it's okay, but then you fire it and it might compress more and then impact your receiver. So yeah, the stock buffer is spring loaded as well. So you always want to make sure it's getting fully depressed when you're doing this test that I'm about to show you. So essentially the test is you just put the bolt in just like it would be when it's cycling. And you want to make sure, like I said, you want to make sure that you're going all the way. So like right there, it seems like it's kind of hitting, sorry, I have a frame here. So it seems like it's hitting a wall, but I can actually push farther because that spring-loaded end, see, like that. So that is where it's actually bottoming out, which is good. You see that gap between the screw here and the lower receiver. So that's not impacting my receiver when I'm functioning it. So that's a real easy way to check. This is stuck in there now. You won't have this problems because this kit has this special buffer retaining thing that I kind of messed with. Shit. All right. All right. Another way you can check it is, which is actually the way I normally do it, just because I'm lazy to take these things apart sometimes, is just to pop on your upper. And this might be a little more difficult, and it's going to be hard to show you, but essentially what I'll do is just check through the gap here underneath the charging handle. So you saw the screws were like silver, metallic. So I can see with a flashlight or whatever, I can kind of see into this gap. And as I pull it all the way back, I can see where it's ending up. And I can just make sure that it's not, going all the way back to the receiver. Sorry for the crummy video, but essentially that's it. Hopefully that helps you guys if you're trying to figure that out.